Hello friends, and welcome to this channel, Great Saints. And to begin with, we're going to have a look at a saying of Padre Pio's, and he tells us that prayer is the best weapon that we possess because it is the key that opens the heart of God. So just a little bit of wisdom of Padre Pio to remember. And today we're going to be having a look at bilocation, this idea of being in two places at one time, only for certain gifted souls. So we'll present the case, the evidence, and what it means, and then it's going to be up to you to decide whether it actually happens or not. Now, Padre Pio, after he'd received the stigmata in 1918, that is the wounds on his hands and his feet, he never left the monastery in St. Giovanni Rotondo. And yet many people, not just one, but many people testify that they had seen him in other places, not only in Italy, but around the world. So we'll be looking at one example there. But what is bilocation? What is it really like? And here we have two little bits of, I could say, wisdom from Padre Pio, helping us to understand this. One day a monk was speaking with Padre Pio on bilocation, in fact on the bilocation of Saint Anthony of Padua. So Padua is in Italy, but Saint Anthony was seen way back in Lisbon, in Portugal. And so he wanted to know, how can this happen? And he said, perhaps these privileged of the Lord, they do not even know that this bilocation happens. At which Padre Pio quickly intervened and interrupted, and he had experience of such events, so he could interrupt, and he said, certainly they do know. They cannot know if it is the body or the soul that moves, but they are very conscious of what happens and they know where they are going. Another testimony, Monsignor Raffaello Rossi. He was the inquisitor sent by the Holy Office in Rome, and he was kind of interrogating Padre Pio under oath. It's 1921, interrogating him about bilocation. Padre Pio told him, it did happen to me to be in the presence of this or that person in this or that place. I do not know if my mind was transported there, or what I saw was some sort of a representation of the place or person. I do not know if I was there with my body or without it. So it could have been a vision for all Padre Pio knew. And there are, as we said, extraordinary examples of this bilocation in Padre Pio's life. So just one account. Now, this is taken from the April edition in 2008 of Pray, Hope and Don't Worry. It's a newsletter. And there we read of this extraordinary appearance in North America, in New York, of Padre Pio. Now, Eli Hunt's family had originally grown up in Padre Pio's hometown of Pietrelcina in Italy, and they were familiar with Padre Pio. Then they moved to New York, and when Ellie was 31 years old, her grandfather now became gravely ill. In New York, they stayed by the grandfather's side. They prayed with the grandfather, and then the grandfather, whose name was Jack, he finally fell into a coma, and they realized the end is actually quite near. Now, they continued to pray. So one day, while they were there praying by his bedside, there was a knock on the door. They went to open it, and they were all surprised to see there a Capuchin had arrived. They knew he was a Capuchin. He had a beard, and he had the dark Capuchin habit on. They were also surprised because there were no Capuchins in that diocese or any of the surrounding dioceses. And they noted that this Capuchin as well was simply wearing sandals, no socks, and yet it was snowing. It was bitterly cold outside. Anyway, the monk told him that he had come there to pray for the grandfather. How did he know? That's anyone's guess. But Ellie remembers that she was actually a little bit upset, because shouldn't one of the priests who was familiar with, who knew her grandfather, shouldn't he be there helping him with the last rites and things, but not a complete stranger? However, it did not take long before this Capuchin friar completely won her over. There was just something so gentle and so kind and so good about this young monk. And so you now went straight through to the grandfather's bedroom, and he blessed Jack Crawford. And he told the family they should pray the rosary, suggesting they actually sit close to the grandfather because he thought that he was still able to hear. And to Ellie's surprise, when she was holding her grandfather's hand, there was a slight response, a slight squeezing of the hand, even though he was in a coma. And then after this, the young Capuchin gave Ellie's grandfather the last rites, the last sacraments. He blessed the family, and then he bid them goodbye. And Ellie's father James showed the monk to the door. He noted there was no car waiting outside either. So he watched the monk walk up the road and disappear into the darkness. When Ellie's father James came back into the room, his wife noticed that he was absolutely pale and shaken, and asked him, "What's the matter?" To which she got the response, "Don't you know who that was? It was Padre Pio. He came to give the last rites to your father, and he looked exactly as I remember him when I used to deliver eggs to him in Pietrelcina." And it turns out that the grandfather Jack had been one of Padre Pio's spiritual children, a spiritual son, and so there was a special grace granted. He'd come to encourage him on his final journey, encourage and pray for him on his final journey. And that is the story of Padre Pio appearing in America. And just a reminder that you can enroll your Mass prayer intentions. There's an option there to be included in our newsletter emailing list, and that way you'll be able to see all of the videos as we produce them. You won't miss any because of YouTube's algorithm not selecting you in, anything like that. We do thank you for watching.